Why does it hurt so much when the day breaks? Why does it hurt so much when the day breaks? It's the Cornbread Man Morning Show on your radio. It's the Cornbread Man Morning Show. It's the Cornbread Man Morning Show on your radio. It's the Cornbread Man Morning Show.
Oh, yeah. Happy Saturday early. Don't always get up this early on a Saturday. I've been up getting some things done and missed my live on early Friday. So we're going to be on early today. Plus, we'll be on here at around 8:30 with Biscuit Boy. So happy Saturday to you. Nice warm fire there in the background. It has been cold, although today rainy, not as cold. Kind of, from what we've had, it's pretty nice out. It's still cold, but nothing like what it was. Hope you have great plans for your Friday. And, glad to see Barry had stopped in. And yeah, this live, I just redid it. This was from Friday. So I was not able to make it for a couple of reasons. But thanks for Barry for stopping in when you hear this, because a lot of times you go back and watch the show. We appreciate you posting that and concern. So yeah, sometimes things happen. I set shows up ahead of time. Sometimes those things, plans get torpedoed due to different things. But that morning, Friday morning, I wasn't able to do it. Had a good show last night. I really, really enjoyed Steve with racingministry.com, Kozak, and just a great guy. I mean, wow. A great story, a continuing story, and one that had a lot of twists and turns to it. And I only knew a very small bit of it. So I was along for the ride like anybody else. We had never met. We've been talking for a week or more through email and different ways, but we had not met until we got on the show. And that story just developed in so many ways. It was quite, it was a lot of things. It was entertaining, funny, spiritual, just all those things, and even much more. As a dad and as a man of God, as someone who had changed a lot in his life from place to place, working secular, full-time ministry kind of combination, has no interest in racing whatsoever, although did some work for one of the companies that was connected. He's more in marketing, and then has a son who loves racing, so he combined racing and ministry, and there you go, and providing an outlet for all those kids, and now has developed it into a 501c and wants to get resources to help race car drivers, not to put his son on the racetrack. That's all paid out of his earnings. And sponsors. So I'm glad he made that clear, because some people say, well, I don't want to support something that's just, if any of that money is going to see his kid race, which that in of itself would be cool. He's 10 years old. I mean, there's nothing wrong with supporting somebody. He wasn't asking money for that. People do that. We've sent money to people and helped them out, said use it for whatever. Doesn't matter to me. I've given it to you. Some people say send money and designate it for this thing or that thing, and that's fine. But I always say general use. I mean, it all goes in the same pot. If you got to have gas in the car, or if you got to pay a bill or whatever, all of that helps to get a person down the road to do the thing that they want to do, or they're passionate about, or been called to do, whatever. And I'm not going to sit here and say, well, all my money I just won't spend on materials or, the church service or whatever. It all goes in the same pot. It's silly. When you're going down the road and you're taking taxis or trains or buses or putting gas in the car or buying airplane tickets. It's the same as if you're stopping to eat or you're buying a baubles for the youngins are going to see or whatever. It all comes out of the same pot. It costs. The gospel is free, but there is a cost to get it there. That's what I always said. The gospel itself is free, but it costs money to get it places, across the world. It costs money to do those things. It is expensive around the world. And, it's just one of those things. And it continues to go up. And people, they just think that they all are to be living off tree bark. And not everybody. There's a lot of people, they think they're to be living off tree bark and sleeping in tents when they go do these things. Now, you can do things frugal, but you still are like anybody else. You want a place that's warm and cool or whatever to lay your head, place to refresh yourself, clean up, and then go out and do ministry. And you got to have somewhere to lay your head. If you're renting a place, an apartment, whatever, so the expectation is that people will do what you're not willing to do. And in some cases, that has to happen. Sometimes for those that's maybe on the front lines, in the bush country of Kenya or somewhere, there may be times they're sleeping out in the jungle or the woods, but traditionally most people are going to have a place to lay their head, a structural home of some kind. It may look very different from what you have, but they're doing ministry. So I'm glad he clarified, but for my money, I didn't care, and I will make a donation to his cause because I know what he's doing. I know his heart, and whether it's helping his kids get a pair of shoes on their feet while they go do the ministry, or an entry fee into one of these places, or to buy crafts for the table, or to buy them dinner after the long day, or I don't care. I mean, it's all comes out of the same resources, and it just there's a cost to that. And I've been on those trips, and there's incidentals. There's all kinds of incidentals that you try to have emergency money for because you don't know what's going to happen. And sometimes they even give it out of their pocket to help others along the way because they see a need. They just feel led to do it. So, yeah. But great. He'll be back. I'd love to have him come back and do some Bible teaching, preaching along the way. We'll see if we can't get that. I don't know if he ever, I'll have to look. He has videos. We may be able to make a, kind of be able to do a deal there or something, but we'll talk about that. But racingandministry.com. He is president, CEO of that, and he is a president. I don't know if I call it CEO, but of the LLC. And he is a very busy man, and his family is. Here's a man that they sold everything to go follow the Lord and do what he wanted to do, and stayed on the road for over a year, going from place to place, ministering and seeing God's faithfulness to his people. And he has walked in an area of faith that most people never even get close to, and that is a blessing to listen to hear. I love that. So anyway, that's one we'll replay. I'll probably replay that today. It blows people's mind. I've been trying to put little disclaimers in there. This is a replay of a live show because I play them as lives, but the pre-recorded video. And people say, you were on all day yesterday. I try to fill gaps in time so that people that didn't see it, put it on at different times, that might not have seen it, don't know it's there, don't take the time to go look. It's kind of in front of them. And you do impact different people. Sometimes the same people watch. They just like the show. It was a good show for them. I watch them. I go back and view the videos looking, just because I enjoyed the show. I wanted to hear something I was in the middle of engineering, missed something, go back and get clarity on it just to see. And I also do it for quality control to see, make sure everything, it's never perfect. There's never a perfection, but you want it to be as best you can make it. And we're always pouring in, back into the podcast to make it better and get more equipment and better equipment and newer equipment and all those things. So, but yeah, I go back and watch them. Absolutely. I think it'd be a mistake not to. Now I don't have the time to watch every show all the way through because we do some long shows, but I will zip through those shows and look at different points in time, especially for something I think I need to go look at. So, but certainly I went back and watched old shows, just let play in the background, listen to it and go back and laugh at the same things again that we laughed at the first time. And sometimes even laugh more because I don't have to worry about making sure a show is continuing to run. So that's pretty cool. I was talking the other night. I got to tell Biscuit Boy, I was talking the other night. I said, I did something I've never did before. I was turning my street and I ran through a ditch. And I was thinking, what the heck? It's like, it was okay, like it wasn't a big ditch, but it was like, why did I, 'cause, my sister was like, is my brother having trouble seeing at night? No, I don't. I mean, night glare off glasses is always a problem. And I have sensitive eyes, but I'm always able to see. But it hit me this morning as I went to town and came back. It hit me how that happened because it's been kind of bothering me. Like, how I don't do that. Like, how did that happen? Well, I figured it out, and it's the power of habit. And when something changes, you have to be careful. And I saw it this morning, and I saw exactly how that could happen because in the glare of oncoming traffic, I'm getting ready to turn. I stopped short because I know because it's hard to see the road. It's kind of a dark road. You look at the street sign for your street. Okay, there's the street sign. The road's on this side. So as I'm waiting for cars to clear, I turned in. Oops, I'm not on the street. I'm in somebody's yard. Like, how did that happen? They moved the street sign after decades, decades. In fact, I've never, ever in my whole life that we lived here seen that street sign on the left-hand side as you're going down the road. It was always on the right-hand side if you're going down the road, entering into the road, I should say. They moved it to the left-hand side of the road. And I just, from habit, like, because if you know a road, you don't even really have to see. You just go. I mean, you just turn. It's dark, it's rainy or whatever, it's there. It's like oncoming traffic. For that brief moment, you might be a little bit not really seeing, but I can see the line on the outside or whatever. And you're kind of running dark, but you're not. I mean, it's there. But the power of of habit and a moved sign, and it almost caught me off guard this morning because I was looking, just as I saw it, I thought, well, how did this happen? Well, I almost stopped again because I think wait a minute, that's not the road. Then I look, they move the sign. And think about that. After all these years, you've been doing the same thing for decades. I mean, I've been driving since I was 16 years old. So over 40 years, I've been living in this area and turned down this road. And the road sign has always been on the right-hand side as you enter into the road. They moved it to the left-hand side. And why, I don't know. Makes no sense. In fact, I don't know of any streets. Well, there may be some. I'd have to go look. I'm going to do a review of that when it gets daylight and just look at various street signs on the streets that are surrounding mine and see. I kind of think they made a mistake. I think that they're always on the right, if I remember right. But anyway, this kind of a revelation this morning. I was like, well, that's cool. I know I'm not going crazy, although I am crazy. I know how that happened now. Just blowed my mind. It's National Day today. There is National Days on the weekends. It's not just through the week. Well, first of all, let's get the Bible verse. Very easy to remember today. If you ever did Bible text memorization and you've ever remembered, like 1 Corinthians 10:13, go study that one today and memorize that by the end of the day. There's your homework. You're thinking, I'm not listening to you. I challenge you. Go to 1 Corinthians 10:13. I was doing a Bible memorization class with folks at work once, and when I pulled that one out, they said, "You have got to be kidding." What? I said, "You can do it. Just break it down. You'll be able to memorize it." It's a little bit of a challenging verse. It has a nice flow to it, though. It's really not that hard. It's a lot of words in 1 Corinthians 10:13. But anyway, today is 1 Thessalonians 5:17. Very simple. There's only one simpler. Would be Jesus wept, right? This one is from Paul, the Apostle Paul in 1 Thessalonians, his first letter to the Thessalonians. The church is there. Pray without ceasing. That's a good one. Pray without ceasing. So you can tell somebody today, I memorized a new verse, 1 Thessalonians 5:17. Pray without ceasing. Very simple. That's a great, good weekend prayer memorization scripture to work on. You don't have to flex your brain out too much. You just do it, and it works out. I love it. If I don't know, some people have photographic memories. They can memorize scriptures because they see them. They just have. I know some people who have amazing recall, and I don't know if it's photographic or they just have that ability because it's always in all of our brains. It's just being able to access that file. In fact, some scripture memorization programs kind of teach you to put that in files. You sort of put scriptures in different file folders under certain topics, such as faith, trust, hope, prophecy, whatever, and you just sort of memorize it that way. And it's easier. They say it helps. I don't know if that's true or not. I never did it that way, but it is, you know, some people are amazing recall that of the scriptures they can just quote without looking up another Bible. I will never say that I've been on that side of it. I know the verses, but I always like to have the open text because for me, that can almost become a little bit of a brag. It's according to how it's used. I have seen people that have a lot of the Bible memorized and they like to show that off. And it becomes a little bit of, let me show you what I can do. And for people who have a struggle with that, that's kind of off-putting it just a little bit. It can be, depending on how you do it. I know people that know whole chapters, memorized whole chapters. And in Genesis, long chapters, memorize the whole thing. That's great. It's not, you're not going to be higher up the food chain and the blessing chain and all that in heaven for doing that. It is impressive, but you don't have to do that. Simply open the Bible up. But I know people, they like to walk around. They like to start quoting scriptures when they're preaching. I get it to a point. But I would much rather say, let's open our Bibles. I'll look at the Bible. You look at the Bible, and let's look at the text. I think that is, and it's okay to sprinkle in something like that when you're preaching because you're away from the pulpit, or if you move a little bit, I move some. I don't much as I used to move a lot. I don't much anymore. I would rather just look at it and know I got it right, because I have seen people doing that. They flip words. Like, oh, I said that wrong. Wait a minute. Let's just read the text together. That's what I say. So I think that's cool. But National Day today, interesting selections for this day. It is the Popeye the Sailor Man Day. I didn't know if they had one for him, but it is Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm okay with it. He's kind of a cool character in a way. I mean, you know, I wonder what the thought process when they were thinking of Popeye. You know, I get it, the sailor, and he's kind of rough, and he has that voice, and you know, he's got the sailor outfit and all that. You know, I with the whole spinach thing, was that like a subliminal to get you to eat more spinach? I don't know the history of that, but Popeye the Sailor Man, that's pretty cool. I always liked that one, so I could roll with that one real well. It's also National Classy Day, to be classy. I could roll with that one as well. The third Saturday in January is also National Use Your Gift Card Day. I do have a gift card I haven't used. I got to remember what I did with it. I've got it. I just got so busy. I think I know where it's at. I think it's $25. I need to use it. Absolutely, I need to. $25. You know. I got to figure out what I did with it. But then there's a couple, and they're not even old national days. They're newer, and it's all to get you, again, subliminal message, get you pointed towards a direction. It's National Bootleggers Day. But this thing was founded in 2015. So does it really count? I mean, like, I don't know. Is that like, who votes on these anyway? And then right behind that, National Hot Buttered Rum Day. Sounds like they go together a little bit. I don't know. I don't know who invented, you know, who, like I said, who votes on the national day. This day recognizes an era when bootleggers became legendary. Wait a minute. There is legend there, but were they breaking the law? Join us as we travel back in time to discuss a brief history behind bootlegging. Brief. I mean, I don't know. That went on for a while. By the way, it still goes on to a degree. I mean, there's still, and see how it impacted the history behind liquor in the U.S. Templeton Rye Whiskey shares its January 17th birthday with bootlegger Al Capone and the son of another bootlegger, Merle Kirkhoff. During the 1800s, the term bootlegger came into use in the Midwest. The word described the act of concealing flask of liquor in a boot top when going to trade with Native Americans. I didn't know that. I think I might have heard that. I forgot it. I think I've heard that, but I forgot it. The term found its permanent place in the American vocabulary when Congress passed the 18th Amendment prohibiting the manufacture, transportation, and sale of alcohol in 1920. Didn't know that. Despite now being illegal, thirsty Americans still had a demand for liquor. So while some distilleries switched their production to something legal, others started bootlegging. Bootleggers helped fill the demand, pardon me, by smuggling various brews from Canada and Mexico and later distilling their liquor in the backwoods and secluded areas. Finally, they brought their loot back to sell to speakeasies, individuals, and other establishments. Other terms such as rum runner and moonshiner became popular during this time as well. The legend of bootlegging grew to mythological qualities. The mafia rose out of the illegal and coordinated activities of bootlegging. I don't know if I buy that either because there's always been a mafia type, but whatever. Glamour, danger, and mystery surround the story. Names like Al Capone, Lucky Luciano, Alphonse Kirchhoff, and Bugs Moran. In 1933, Congress ratified the 21st Amendment repealing Prohibition and the Noble Experiment. How to observe Bootleggers' Day. Explore the history of the Prohibition era, listen to stories, or watch old movies surrounding the time of the bootlegger. While you do, share a bottle of course, Templeton Rye with friends. Be sure to post photos on social media using Bootleggers' Day or Templeton Rye. So, Infidium Spirits founded this day in 2015 to celebrate the birth of Templeton Rye and explore the history of the bootlegger. The registrar of the National Day calendar proclaimed it. So there is a register. I didn't even know that. But on that day, 2015, to be observed on January 17th annually. Templeton Rye. So that was the liquor. It was Al Capone's whiskey of choice. I didn't know that. Anyway, they tell a little bit about that. Then they have some trivia, a couple of them. How old was Al Capone when he went to prison? Good morning. Good morning, Brother Darrell. I'm having an odd discussion about bootlegging because it's National Bootleggers Day, and I'm trying to figure out how in the world this came to be in 2015. Anyway, Al Capone went to prison when he was 33 years old. There's an interesting number. As we know, for tax evasion and prohibition charges, he was sentenced to 11 years and served his time at Alcatraz. He was released after 7 years. I didn't realize the time factor there. Another question. What is bathtub gin? I don't know. During the Prohibition era, people steeped grain alcohol in large tubs, sometimes a bathtub, to get around the 18th Amendment, which expressly prohibited the manufacture, distribution, and sale of distilled alcohol. Interesting. Number 3, does bootlegging apply only to alcohol? No, bootlegging is the illegal manufacture, distribution, or sale of goods. It can apply to counterfeit products such as designer brands, electronics, cosmetics, and other products such as food, pharmaceuticals, movies, concerts, and music recordings. Well, that's a wide area, and there's a lot of people doing that. What are the other words for bootlegging? We covered it. Well, counterfeiting and pirating are types of bootlegging. So, okay. I did not know that. So, interesting. So, I guess when we're looking at that, but I want to know how the hot buttered rum, because they share the same day. How did this one come to be? In the United States, hot buttered rum's history dates back to the colonial days. It was in the 1650s when Jamaica began importing molasses to colonial America. New England started opening distilleries where the colonists then began adding distilled rum to hot beverages such as toddies and nogs, creating hot buttered rum, eggnog, and others. Hot buttered rum is often made by blending a buttered rum batter with dark rum. Dark rum is a rum that has been barrel aged for an extended length of time to retain a more intense and molasses flavor. Those that prefer a mild or spicier taste may choose the option of using light rum or spiced rum mixed with the batter. So anyway, questions here. Is there a difference between hot buttered rum and a Tom and Jerry? I couldn't tell you because I don't drink. Yes, while both are hot alcoholic beverages, their ingredients differ. Tom and Jerry's are also often made with rum, though they can also be made with whiskey or vodka. Both are also spiced. However, a batter instead of butter is used to make a Tom and Jerry rich and creamy. Is honey a good addition to hot buttered rum? Yes, honey adds a little sweetness and complements the butter and spice of the rum quite well. So those are both national days today. Blows my mind. They have them both on the same day. Interesting. But along with that, it's National Use Your Gift Card Day, National Classic Day, and my personal favorite today, Popeye the Sailor Man Day. I did not know that. Watchman for you in school. I bootleg tapes. A lot of people did that. There was a guy at work once, and he's just deceased now. And he had a lot of music, and he used to make tapes for people and sell them at work. Boy, people get mad when you call them out on sin, right? Because I said, that's breaking some rules there, buddy. I said, I've made tapes for friends, but I didn't sell them, which is allowed. He was making like CDs, tapes, making his own little labels and stuff. I mean, this guy had a little operation going on. I called him on it. Boy, he got mad at me. He got mad. But there was a guy I worked with once, and he was talking about different bands he liked and groups and buying tapes and CDs and stuff like that from people that bootlegged. And he was kind of bragging about it. And I said, well, you're if you people that keep doing that, your band's going to quit making money, and they may fold up. And he didn't like that, He's like, well, I'm just saving money. I said, yeah, but you're cheating the band. I mean, that's their copyrighted music and all that. And somebody's making money off that. That's their money. That's stealing, He goes away and thinks about it. He comes back and he says, I've been giving a lot of thought to what you say, and you're right. He said, I'm going to start, buying the official album. And I think it's, again, I'm not going to get in the fight. I'm just saying it's the same thing. You go down the road and you see the people that make the little, well, it could be anything. It could be birdhouses. It could be, the little cornhole boards or whatever. And they make the university ones. There was a person right here doing it where I live. They would have the major colleges for the SEC, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's bootleg. I mean, they didn't get no right from that university to sell. And they were painted in exact colors with the official school logo on there. The same style and everything, which is a registered trademark. And I'm thinking, you're putting that out in your front yard, and you're just around the corner from the police station, but that tells you how much they pay attention. Unless somebody calls, they're not going to say nothing. But that is a big deal, and universities today are really going after bootleggers on that. They will hit the flea markets and the stuff like that, because these people that are doing it on a big scale and making a lot of money, they'll go after them. They really will, because they realized how much money they were losing. Brother Darrell said, when I pastored up at Irwin, Tennessee, I didn't know you pastored at Irwin. I preached in Irwin once. Neat town, but I preached in a church in Irwin once. Had a lady in the church that would always bring me a rum cake that was dripping with rum, help take the stress off. Preacher, we're going to take care of you. I don't want you to be stressed out. I got to get you some rum cake here. You just calm right on down. Oh, I understand, Watchman, but it's still bootlegging. Oh, you feel the need. I mean, listen, like I said, I got somebody's party this morning. That's between you and your maker. I'm just saying. Some people don't consider that, but oh, Watchman, you're funny. Don Bag said he would go buy bootleg Pantera shirts. He said they had better designs than they did many times. He collected them. I get it. If you go back and read, guy that used to be the manager of Van Halen, he made that a mission in life to go get those bootleggers. He would go out. That's what he had, a team of security, and they would go out. He'd go out there himself, and they would go after. That's under the blood now. I said, hey, it's okay. I got you. You got a little operation going on, been forgiven. Good, all good. But he would go out at the concert. He would go find these people that were selling things illegally, and they'd personally run them off. Talk about flipping the money changers' tables over. But they would go out there and they'd flip their table. They'd run them out of there. I'd say, "You're not making money off the band like that. You've not paid for anything. You're stealing from my boys. Not gonna allow it." But yeah, I mean, nowadays, I mean, they kind of embrace it to a degree. I mean, everybody films inside. I mean, used to you couldn't do none of that. If they caught you with recording devices in a concert, dude, you were in trouble. Or even ball games. I remember Cook. I didn't know how he got it in the door, but we were at Atlanta Braves game once, and this is back when you got the big. Nowadays, camcorders are that big, and he's got the big shoulder one. Looks like a camera. I think he just had it around his back. And I don't think they even looked at it when he came through. But he went down a lower level, kind of walked down to one of the lower levels. He didn't have a seat down there. He just was going to stand there, and he wanted to get some video of the action. Let's say, "Hey, can't be doing that. That's against the rules here, man." "Oh, I'm sorry." He just went on. Well, they were getting mad. He was out there trying to get a little film of, back then, I guess it would have been, who would have been playing then? Chipper Jones was definitely playing. Get a Chipper Jones home run or something. But he definitely he definitely ruffled some feathers. But nowadays they invite you in. They got the little pit for you. You go there, record the show. Everybody's got their phones out, recording it and all that. And yeah, those things are going to end up out there on the internet. Sometimes they're going to be sold. I have bought bootlegs. Not going to lie, because sometimes there were bootlegs that were really high caliber. And the reason I bought them was it was of a concert that I wanted that I'd heard was really good. Or sometimes a band will play a song that they don't play anywhere else. It could be a new song they're working on. It could be they could be singing somebody else's song, or they play a song of their own catalog that they haven't played in a long time. And I'll be like, wow. And you'd hear about it and you kind of start a search looking for that thing and you want a copy of it. So I get it. Hey, I'll guarantee you Joe Elliott of Def Leppard has bought a lot of bootlegs because he likes to get some of that stuff too, because sometimes they didn't get copies. So he'd go back and buy it. Yeah, back in the day, if you had a recorder or camera, you're getting kicked out and maybe prosecuted at a concert. Yeah, the first one is guaranteed. You're kicked out. Two is maybe prosecuted. They might even confiscate your recording device. They might even do that. You might not even get that back. I mean, so yeah, that was a big game that was played back in the day, how to hide those things. Brother Darrell, there was a record store in East Ridge years on that sold bootleg recordings of several groups, especially the Allman Brothers and Grateful Dead. The guy had an awesome collection of concerts. Well, I dealt with a guy. I don't know if he was in East Ridge. He was in Brainerd, but I did deal with a guy in East Ridge once. It might be the same place, but I bought from both, and I can tell you that there was I wanted to get. Well, we bought it out of his store. You know, it's your buddy sees it first and he gets something. We found this bootleg. It was excellent. They did this thing up nice. It was a triple CD of Stevie Ray Vaughan. Now, this is after Stevie Ray Vaughan has died. And it was a triple CD. Some of it was demos. Some of it was outtakes. But the whole thing was great. And it was pretty high. I remember it was like $90. I mean, it's bootleg. You're paying more. But he had like the whole thing looked like an official thing. Anyway, he bought it, and I was like, man, I really wanted that. But, I wasn't going to, give my friend a hard time. He saw it first. We both were big Stevie Ray fans. So I started looking. There used to be, what was the name of that magazine? Gold Mine. They would advertise all over the nation and world for hard to get music, shirts, whatever. And they definitely catered to that crowd. And I found it at a place, and I want to say it was in Savannah, Georgia, at a shop there, and ordered it in. My wife liked to have a cow. She said, how much is that thing? I said, $90 plus the shipping. She's like, David, $90. Like, so back in those days, what I did when I wanted something, I worked overtime. So you didn't take out the budget. And I said, I'm working over. That's about $100 a day. So I would. She said, well, all right. You put the money back. I said, the money's going back. So she never. My wife used to cringe. I'd go to record shows and stuff, collectible shows. I used to go to big ones down at the Georgia World Congress Center, table after table after table of stuff. And I would always find France is really good for some stuff like that. Germany, you get a lot of stuff out of there that's different. You've never seen it before. And I was always looking for, there's so much I couldn't afford, but if you're paying attention and you really look, you could get some nice pieces. And I've been meaning to bring down. I've got rid of a lot of my stuff, but I still have a favorite. I still have some picture disc and stuff that I bought for Def Leppard bootleg, and so yeah, pretty cool. There's a couple of bands released bootleg live shows because they were so good. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Wow, who is favorite guitarist of all time? That's really tough. Really, really tough. Because I have like 4 or 5 that I really, really like. And I, if I was going to narrow it down to one, the impact that, because I really liked Jimmy Page, but the impact that Eddie Van Halen had is undeniable. And I was growing up around that time. I was a teenager when they really hit. So, but but I'm also a real big fan of John Sykes. God, he's so good. And there's a couple others, but if I had to pin it down, I would say probably Eddie, just because the sounds that he influenced millions of guitarists, Not to say others didn't. I would say just because of all he made the guitar do. Because they didn't have the money for fancy stuff, so he just made the guitar do all the fills and stuff to fill those gaps with crazy sounds and stuff. The guy's a genius. So coming up with stuff, he came up with a guitar, and amazing. I would probably say him, but Jimmy Page is right there. And like I say, I'm a big fan of John Sykes. There's a video of the Rock in Rio. I think it's Rock in Rio. Def Leppard had to pull out. I think it was Whitesnake moved into that slot. And if you go, and you can see it on YouTube or wherever, but John Sykes, young John Sykes, this would be, I said 87. It wasn't 87. That was 83 or something like. Anyway, whatever it was, because by 87 they fired him. Ridiculous, stupid. But anyway. There is a live recording of that where he's playing "Crying in the Rain." Oh, the most of the song is him playing solo. Even David Coverdale says, "This is a song I get to take a break because our new guitarist John Sykes or whatever he says is going to fill the stage." And boy, does he! Oh my goodness, crazy. What about you, Daryl? Watchmen. I remember the first time I saw Stevie Ray Vaughan in Austin City Limits. My dad got me. I was listening to New Maiden. I got Power Slave. Stevie Ray Vaughan blew my mind. It changed my life, to be honest. Yeah, so I forget, and I might have saw Stevie Ray the first time on the show, that Austin City Limits show. I didn't know about. Outside of ZZ, that Western kind of scene and stuff, I didn't know a lot that was coming out of that time frame of those bands and that music and stuff like that, but a few. But when I saw him, I was like, wow. Just the oozing off of his fingers. The way he played and everything. I was always a big fan of Jimi Hendrix. So, he played a lot of his stuff and played it well. Maybe even some better. Seriously, the guy was so good. He had so much, him and the guitar were one. And he played with such a, and they both did, Jimmy and him, they played with such a violence. I would call it a violence on the guitar. Both of them had trouble keeping their fingers together. That's heavy strings, a lot of heavy, just the way they played, very aggressive. And of course, his guitar, same guitar. Yeah. Why do they fly helicopters? Buses and helicopters. Stay out of them. We lost a legend when we lost, Stevie Ray, but and all of them. But it was a good show, and I missed it. But that that triple CD set was so good. I who knows, I may even still have that put in a drawer somewhere. I don't think I would have ever gotten rid of that. I did get rid of a lot of stuff, but I thought I'm not going to get rid of that. It was just so hard to get, and I kind of give it to my kids or something. Um, you went that weekend and bought Texas Flood. Yeah, I'll bet. Saturday afternoon in the park was brilliant. Synth line Eddie does in that into 1 foot out the door that solo just next level. Yes, sir. Saw an interview with Stephen Perseverant when he met Van Halen for the first time. He talked about how it changed his life. I think I saw that same interview. I think Watchman, that's the one you sent me, right? He said Eddie's legacy was instrumental in many people's lives. Is that where he was driving up? He didn't live right there in L.A. and the Sunset Strip area, which a lot of them did, and he drove up and saw went to Whiskey and saw Eddie. I think that's an amazing interview, and he really. I mean, I enjoyed that interview very much. Dwayne Allman, definitely. I really enjoyed reading Greg Allman's bio that he did himself. Was a great book, and just that whole time frame and how he came to play slide was crazy, and how they fought and everything. I mean, they really were. I mean, they were in a military school at one time. I didn't even know that. He was very open in that book to show his own failures. He really gave you the look inside of his life growing up and early days of the band. He always said Dickie Betts played too loud. But digging it like that. And how the stories about carrying that organ everywhere and how the crazy things that happened on tour for them. But yeah, the loss of Dwayne and then Barry, was it Barry? Anyway, devastating. But, they survived. Amazing talent right there in Macon, Georgia. But Dwayne Allman. And the early days, I mean, Eric Clapton was coming down, and Dwayne Allman rocked his world. Like, what the heck? He had that same kind of influence. He just wasn't here very long. he was influencing legends as a young man, just doodling around on the guitar. Crazy. But lost. I mean, they had only done a couple of albums. So early into their career. I mean, thank goodness they got the Fillmore shows. Stevie took Eric Clapton's seat on the hill. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, bad move. It's like the other one. Who was it? The Big Bopper. Did he take? Wasn't it Waylon Jennings was supposed to be on the plane? He gave his seat up because they were trying to get to a show. And I think that's the reason he got on the plane. Why Waylon Jennings was, he's deceased now, lived a long life though. Yeah, rest in peace, Sky Dog. They had 3 albums. Okay, thank you, Daryl. I couldn't remember, but I mean, still, that's such a tiny work. I'm now great, legendary, absolutely great. But it is amazing how little of a repertoire they had with him. And hey, I like Dickie Betts. I think the band was really good going forward, but could never be the same. It just couldn't. You can't replace a guy like that. And that's nothing against Dickie Betts. That's, I mean, because he was there. I mean, I get it, but trying to fill those shoes, man, it just couldn't happen. Butch Trucks and Dwayne crashed at the same intersection, I think on the same date, and the drivers that hit them were both the same age. Yeah, very odd. I don't think they were wearing helmets, right? That was a big thing back in the early 70s. You didn't wear helmets. I don't know if it made a difference, but that's just that wild, rebellious nature. He lived life his way. We can say what else, but it was his time, whatever you want to say, but lost a legend. And I just wonder, you just wonder how far he would have went, what would have happened. Same could be said for Randy Rhoads. Randy Rhoads was, he was a creator, he was an inventor. He wasn't just playing, he was writing. It's a big difference. I mean, people, they're always trying to make the next great thing. And I think Dwayne Allman fit that bill. I think Eddie was that way. certainly. And they were, Randy Rhoads was always trying to move the bar. He didn't want to be just known as that guy that was playing with Ozzy, although he loved Ozzy. He had so much more to give the world musically than that. His work in classical music and really just coming up with new styles and stuff within that. Amazing. I don't know if you've ever saw the interview his brother did. He was a musician in his own right, taught at the same school. What was his name? It's Rhodes, but I can't remember his first name. I didn't like. He whined on that interview once about what a burden he was left. He was actually angry at Randy for dying because he couldn't be himself. He had to carry on the legacy for the family for Randy Rhoads. I thought that was. I just thought that was. I mean, dude, really, quit crying. Nobody's telling you to carry anything. Just go do you. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. I just thought he was almost like a jealousy, like he made it, I didn't. I mean, come on, man, that's you, little brother, yeah, but man, what a legacy, man. Did you get to still do that? This is ridiculous. I hate when people cry like that. Randy Rhoads, saw him in Atlanta, incredible talent. I never got to see him. Well, by the time I started going to concerts, he was off the scene. Just stupidity. I mean, not on his part. Well, for going up, that guy was an idiot. The drunken or cocained out dude that took that plane. How crazy is it? I mean, and for Ozzy, who I got to give credit, of course, he's recently died, to be able to roll out of that. I mean, his survivability power was amazing. You get kicked out of Black Sabbath, we know their legendary status, and of course, Ozzy had a lot of talent. I get it, but sometimes you go on your own, it don't work. And to be able to change the whole landscape with Randy Rhoads and Sarzo and others, for 2 albums, just changed it. And then to lose that talent, so it's like he's starting over again. And Rudy Sarzo's, he couldn't handle it. Like I got to leave. They got mad at him. I can't. I miss him too much. And to get those players that he always got, like a Jakey Lee or Zach Wild and others, I just continued to just churn it out. Just amazing. But yeah, it was cool when Allman Brothers won their first tour. They took the black lady at a soul food joint they went to. She fed them when they were broke as their cook. That's cool. I don't know if I'm sure it was in the book. I don't remember it, but yeah, they were very much into being in Macon, they were really around African Americans, and so that to them it was normal. To have that in the band. They were places that they told they couldn't play, or we don't allow them here, or they always fought against that. Here's some deep South brother, soul music and all that, and people didn't like that, and they said, we don't care. That's who we are, and that's cool. So they set a standard. I remember in his book, he's talking about how he got the name Elizabeth. I think it was Elizabeth. I'm pretty sure he had everything else, didn't have the name, and he heard a lady calling for her daughter in a store, and he said, "That's it," and he went and thanked the lady. Thank you so very much. And she's probably thinking, I don't know what you're talking about, man. Legendary. I wonder if that little girl even knows that name. It's not really about her, but it was her name, and that's what became the song. He, the times that he dated Cher and was with her, that was a wild time. I love the backstory. I didn't know that he dated, talking about Greg, he dated, I think of his TV name. I cannot think of his real name, but the guy who played Matt Dillon in Gunsmoke, his daughter and Greg Allman dated at one time. And she had James Arnaz. She had a bad drug problem, but he would go to his house, and it was on again, off again. There were times she was good. And of course, Greg had drug problems too, but he said that he was treated with a lot of respect. He said he used to play guitar and sing for James Arness, and he would go to sleep. He was just tired from recording and filming and all that, but he would go to sleep. After she died, and she died of an OD, James Arness contacted Greg Allman and said, "I just want you to know I don't, excuse me, I don't blame you. My daughter has had a drug problem for a long time." And he said, "I just want you to know that." I thought that was pretty cool. That because he could easily have said, "You're just another trashy guy. You had drug problems yourself," but he wanted him to know, not because Greg, it did hit Greg hard. It did hit. He didn't want that to happen to her. He really cared about her, and I thought that was pretty classy that James Arness did that. Rudy didn't write or play on those records. That's true. He never says he did. He always discloses that. That was Bob Daly's lyrics and music. Randy had the riffs. Bob put it all together. But Rudy was great for the stage. So good, in fact, they had to calm him down. It's the same with early Quiet Riot. I don't know how much he really had any influence there. Now, later on, he wrote with them and stuff, but what a great guy. I like Rudy Sarzo. I do. Still great. He's a great pet lover. He does a lot of work with pets and stuff. He does work with I think he likes cats is his main thing, but I think he might have dogs too. But very, very cool. And I like him. I'd like to meet him. I really would like to meet. There's not many people in the world that I really care to meet that are famous. There's a handful. Most of the time you're kind of let down from that, but that's one guy that I would like to meet. And he's a guy that gets it about the communists and all that. I mean, he will tell you what Cuba is like. He knows how special freedom is in America. He gets it, and he will tell people that. Rudy is a real one. I met him once. Really down to earth guy, and you can see that. He played with what was the name of that band? They'd been around forever, for a long time. He finally went back to Quiet Riot. But he absolute Daryl, absolute brother. I want you to come be on the podcast, man. We'll catch up, man. You got a lot of stuff to share. Nothing else, come preach, man. Come share the word. But yes. But he no, not Whitesnake. I get the White. I liked him in Whitesnake. Later on, it was the what were they called? They were a 60s band. He played with them for a long time. No, not Blue Oyster Cult. Oh, what is the name of that band? I hate it when I do this. Oh, I have to look it up, man. It's like when you say it, I'm gonna be like, "Yeah, there it is." But I can't remember. But he played with them for quite a while. I mean, he was a touring member with them. I don't know if he ever wrote any music with them either, but he toured them a long time. But he recently, within the last few years, has left them and went back to Quiet Riot. I don't think there's any original members left of the band, but at least they're still trying to make some music. I don't fault that. It's a name. Kevin's gone and Frankie's gone. I mean, there's so many people gone. And I remember in Off the Rails, the book that Rudy wrote. And by the way, if you've never read that book, you should read it. They should make a movie out of it, actually. Guess Who? Yes, that's it. The Guess Who. Thank you. He was with them for a good while, I think. He talks about that time frame when they were battling. All these bands were battling to make it, and Quiet Riot was one of them, and there were some others, and they named those bands. And around that time, I mean, they're pushing this band hard. They're trying to make it. Everybody thought they were going to be the next great band to come out of that Sunset Strip and different things. Or I think just there's thousands of bands, but they were one of the better ones. And of course, Rat was around. I mean, early on, I think Rat was there. It was a lot of bands. But that when Ozzy come and was sniffing around for Randy, that really ticked off Kevin DeBro. I mean, you get it, man. Like, you're killing me, man. I mean, everybody's going to want to. In one way, people think, man, that is an awesome opportunity. You got to go. But we're trying to build something here, and Ozzy comes in and swoops in and takes my guitarist, Randy Rhoads. And then they get Rudy. Kevin was not happy. Richie Blackmore was a great guitarist. Yes, I'm not. I don't know why. I mean, I've heard some of his stuff. I don't know why I never really got into. And I listen to it on, I'll hear it on satellite radio. And as a matter of fact, it's funny you say that because I was riding last night and I flipped over and I was flipping channels and on Hair Nation or something, they were playing a Richie Blackmore song. And I was like, I never really got that close to him listening because I didn't really follow those bands. But there's no doubt of the impact. Who played with Queen's Rock? Rudy played with Queen's Rock? I don't remember that. Must have been later on. I mean, I kind of know their history. I like Queen's Rock. I didn't keep up with them after a bit. I mean, but they still putting out some good music. But, the classic lineup will never be back together. Man, what a band. Wow. That Operation Mindcrime. And then Empire. And, later on they did Operation Mindcrime too. The rest of the band didn't want to do it. Lead singer done it on his own. That's a controversial album. I've listened to it. It doesn't stand up to the first one. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's just it probably should have waited. I don't know. It didn't work. They actually made some better music than that later with a new singer. Machine Head and Perfect Strangers is my favorite Deep Purple albums. Okay. I couldn't tell you about any of them because I never really got close. I never was really listened to Deep Purple. I mean, I've heard some of the songs and stuff, but I never owned those albums. But Watchman, he's no guitar player and he's all that. You'd definitely be listening to guitar. Who was your favorite guitar player, Watchman? I mean, I don't know if you said. Who's your favorite? I mean, as a guitar player yourself, you had to have somebody that you really looked up to and thought, wow, that's what I want to be. I think of guitar players that didn't really they were known, but they weren't known as well as others because of the band they played in. People didn't realize how good they were. Or short-lived. People just didn't really, get Jimmy. Okay. But like Rick Rath, was it from REO Speedwagon? That's a guy could play. It couldn't beat the bottle. But you go back and look at his solos and stuff in those albums. That guy could play, man. That last show he did when he came back out, my gosh. I thought, what happened to this guy? So sad. But he could still play. You know what I'm talking about, Watchman? Or Daryl? Do you remember that? It was like I don't remember if it was a benefit, but it was the last time that he ever walked on stage with them. He looked so bad. He didn't live a lot longer. I didn't even recognize him. I mean, I give them a lot of credit for letting him come out, and I give him credit for coming out. I think they were all glad they did it. But the alcohol had taken such an effect on him. It's one of the most shocking things I think just about I've ever seen of somebody coming out on stage, of how they used to look to what they look like then. That just shows you the drugs and alcohol and what a downward spiral all that is. And I'm so glad I'm not involved with any of that. I don't want none of that in my life. My gosh, horrible. But there's others. The guy that used to play in, oh man, was it Chicago? The early Chicago? What's that guy's name? A lot of players have respect for that guy too. Another one left too early. There's a bunch of guys like that. They never get mentioned, but they are as good as anybody's ever been. Amazing players. Also, Angus and Malcolm and Tony Anami and Randy Rhoads and King Edward and Buck Owens were my Buck Owens. How about that? Were my faves and were influences. Very cool. Yeah. There's a guy I work with, and he's a guitar player, and he goes, I can't listen to AC/DC, that 3-chord thing. I got to branch out. And I'm thinking, dude, just take it for what it is. They're not trying to write symphonies here. They're not. They don't care. Of course, Malcolm's dead, but find that thing you do well and do it. I always hate it when musicians criticize musicians. I hate that. It could be in anything. It could be Christian musicians. I don't care. I hate that when you try to tear down somebody else. I heard a guy who I worked with one time, and he was a lead guitar player and a big, kind of a bragger. He's a nice guy. I like talking to him. And at the time, I was trying to play a little rhythm guitar. And he was like, hey, man, we hook up. Anyway, he made this comment about Jimi Hendrix. And he goes, that guy sucked. He said, I can play all his stuff. I can play it with one hand behind my back. That's nothing. I'm like, dude, really? And who are you? And I said, what's your name? And he told me his name. And I said, and who knows you? Did you write all that stuff? Did you record it? Did you tour the world? And he said, well, no. I was like, then what are you barking your mouth about, dude? We kind of had words. I'm like, this guy's a legend. And just because you can go out and play the stuff he created, dude, you didn't create that music. So quit trying to act like you did something. You're an imitator. I mean, you're just copying. You didn't do it. You've wrote nothing, man. Why do you want to trash a guy? I mean, it's not going to get you anywhere. And musicians are not going to like that you talk that way. Yeah, you're right. A fool. I mean, why would you do somebody like that? I just hate that when they do it. And here lately, a lot of musicians, that's the bad thing about social media. I don't know if they're in a bad moment or they just like running their mouth or whatever. But there's been people running their mouth about Eddie Van Halen here lately. You need to shut your face. There's continually musicians that have trashed Randy Rhoads. You need to shut your face. I mean, just quit running down the brotherhood here. I mean, why would you do that? Just leave that alone. If you're, I don't know if you're trying to prop yourself up, tear them down, just leave it alone, dude. There was a musician that came out and said that, I can't remember who it is. And he said that Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses was trash. Really? Trash? Okay, you don't like it. You don't have to like it. But trash? Really? I'd like to see the royalty checks that comes in off of that song. I like that song. I like the guitar playing in that song. Some of these people they're nutso. Jimmy wrote the Encyclopedia of Guitar in one song. Machine. Yeah, imbeciles. I do not get that at all. Why you want to do that? Again, different styles. Everybody's a little different. Oh yeah, and he's my favorite. Bon Scott, what a lead singer. Paul Rogers, Bad Company, and Free was also very good. I really grew up. I like Brian Johnson. I can't. It's always been Bon Scott. It's a lot. Bon Scott Brian's a funny guy. You can tell he likes to have a good time. He'd be a great guy to hang out with, and all that. And we've talked about this before. They give credit to him for writing a bunch of songs he didn't write. It's a bunch of crap. It makes me mad because we know they ripped off Bond's song lyric book and books. I think there was more than one, and he supposedly wrote these classics, and then one day just quits writing songs. He said, "I just leave that to everybody else." Come on, dude. If you're that good, you can write songs. You're going to write more songs. You can say that whole story. Sit down with a yellow notepad, and they said just write stuff. And he wrote Back in Black and all that. No way do I believe that story. No way. But Bon Scott, what a loss. He just couldn't beat the bottle. And he was getting into some heroin. But yeah, he had a presence on stage. It was mysterious. It was playful, but yet he had that tough guy look, It's like Paul Rogers, legendary, man. The guy could sing anywhere. You put him on a deserted island, he could play with the natives, man. He'd make a great band. Free, yes. Ian Gillan was a great vocalist too, absolutely. I don't know that we've replaced. I don't know that any are coming along like that anymore. Every once in a while, I hear somebody, and I'll be like, "Wow!" But we were really blessed in our age group to have this repertoire of music that came out. and it's so vast and so deep, and it's there's no way that we have that same level today. I don't know why. Maybe it's just different styles. They don't really sing that way. Maybe they have talent, but it just doesn't show up. It's like cookie cutter music nowadays. But that we were blessed. We were really blessed. I mean, these guys were players. They were writers. They didn't have AI. They didn't have machines and stuff. They just had them in a room with their amps and microphones, and they made magic. I mean, I think of Boston, what happened there with that first album and second album. You don't see that no more. You don't see it no more, and you're not going to see it. These people are legends. There's some nice artists come along. I give them the credit. Really, really nice, good players, stuff like that. But the amount of people that could play and sing and create, I mean, it's just endless. It was a great time to be alive for music. Bob was good friends with the Outlaws. They say Bob wanted to leave AC/DC and form a Southern rock band. He loves Southern music. This is true. There's a couple things going on with that. He met Leonard Skinner, and he was really identifying with that. I'd read he was getting sick of carrying Angus around on his shoulders. He thought it was demeaning to him. And in that band, he was outnumbered. He was outnumbered. I mean, he did get to help with the recording. He played drums when they did the demos and stuff. But he was afraid they were going to fire him all the time. He was, the drinking problem. And there were a handful of times he forgot lyrics, and he would tell people, "I'm afraid they're going to fire me." He was so afraid of that. I just think that being in that band was such a grind. They toured constantly. They were all burned out, but they made it, and that's how they made it. And right as they really, really made it, I mean, they had made it really well. They're fixing to go to superstardom, and then of course he dies. But he was a little tired of some of it. The same could be said for Randy Rhoads. The rumor has always been that Randy Rhoads wanted to go off and do some other things. He was kind of, he'd made the legendary status. Nobody was going to take that from him. He had money. He was ready to go do some stuff for him. People say that's bunk, but he was a little bit tired of some of that stuff going on too. That was a hard band to be in. There was a lot of going on. Ozzy was chaotic, doing pranks all the time. He really push your buttons, and it's the same thing. Ozzy's in control. You're never going to have any kind of control there. It was always him. Yes, it was a passion for the music. Those type of bands will always say the music comes first. If your feelings are going to get hurt, you just can't be in this band. Everybody has to let the song be the most important thing. And yeah, that's why those recordings were so hard and people got mad. And I remember, and everybody has musical blocks. It happened to everybody. I don't care what the band was. Most of them. There might have been some that didn't. But I remember when Aerosmith, and they were struggling to get some songs, and they brought in some songwriters to work with Steven Tyler, and he was mad about it. But they produced some good stuff out of it. I mean, what's the guy's name that has wrote with everybody? Wears the bandana over his head. What is that guy's name? I hate when I do this. He has wrote with everybody. A guy can write a hit like that. He takes your idea though, and he didn't really come in with songs. He would collaborate, and he would take your stuff, and he would just help you fulfill that. Yeah, Desmond Child. Yes, that guy is. I mean, you go back and all the greats like Jimmy Page and Eric Clapton. They were all session musicians. They played on thousands of stuff, but they didn't get credit for that. They got paid. That's what you do. But Desmond Child is credited. I mean, he has wrote and played with so many people. It's truly amazing. That guy could. I was thinking Destiny, and I thought that's not his name. Desmond Child. He has wrote with everybody. And when you're stuck, you bring in the they call that the consultant. Got to bring the consultants in. We're kind of stuck here. He would come in and then I write a great song. And I can't even list all the bands he's worked with. Bond's lyrics had some real depth, like that song "What's Next to the Moon," many layers in the lyrics, and touched too much that went over most people's head, including AC/DC's. Oh yeah, they didn't have a clue what he was way above their level of thinking. They were what they were. Bond had a little, like he said, he had a way about him. He had a way. Um, I remember reading the book Bond by Fink, Jesse Fink. What a name! But anyway, it was said about Bond that Bond only had two outfits, like two pairs of jeans, maybe a couple of t-shirts, that little thing, jacket he wore, socks up. But he was a clean person. He always made sure to keep his stuff clean. He traveled very frugally. He wasn't into excess except for the booze. And every band that ever toured with AC/DC when Bond was there, and they will say all the guys were great, but they will say that Bon Scott really impacted them because he would come into their dressing room and do things like bring them M&Ms and stuff. He would grab stuff off of their food table and stuff that the opening bands didn't get, opportunity to get a hold of, and he would bring them stuff. He'd bring them, booze, obviously, but he would help them out. I think he even gave them money sometimes. And he always paid back. He always remembered what it was like as he struggled early on to try to make it, in bands. He remembered that, and that set a lesson. I remember Def Leppard has talked about that a lot, and working with them and a couple others, they learned to take care of the opening bands, and they always wanted to tour with somebody that they were friends with, not just a collaboration. They put a lot of thought into it. A lot of them do, but they always thought about that. These guys they're making nothing. They're living off the per diems and stuff, and upside down, the band is in debt. It costs a lot of money to tour, and you're not getting paid as much money because you're an open act. So they're of course sometimes they break stuff, and that's another problem. But yeah, I always remember that about him. And I would say Bond was a laughing kind of a drunk. Like he wasn't angry, but he could get annoying because just falling down drunk state he could get in. People get tired of that. I imagine the young brothers got really sick of that, and that was the give and take of that. Great guy though. I would love to go to Australia and be able to see the grave and the statue they have for him in Australia. I'd love to go see that. I don't know if I'll ever make it to Australia though. That's a lot of flying right there. That's a lot of money. Maybe one day. Pretty cool though. Hey, that was a rough music scene, Australia, back in the day. Talk about some fighting. Wow. They played at some rough places, which a lot of bands do. It's like the Blues Brothers going into the rock country little place or country. Chicken wire in front of them, beer bottles being thrown at the stage. There's a lot of them played rough places like that in the early days because you played wherever you got, you got a place to play. Hopefully, got paid a little bit. That people, all of them, can write books about that. You know, it's a rough existence. But out of that, that's why the music's so good because you don't have time for anything else. It's before the lawyers get involved because there's no lawyers, and you're just a bunch of guys, and you're crunching out these tunes. The influences of what you're being around is constant. Every day is a new story. I mean, one of the greatest lines, I like that line in the Guns N' Roses song, "Welcome to Jungle." I mean, he heard that line from a black guy as he crawled up on the interstate, and it was a guy that said that. You know where you are? You're in the jungle, baby, and you're going to die. I mean, you get something like that, and he found a way to put it in a song, and it fits. I mean, real life. That's where you get those great songs, and you just let it simmer, and you kind of wait till the right time, and then it hits, and it goes. But yeah, great talk this morning. I do got to get off here. We're going to be back at 8:30. Biscuit Boys should arrive here shortly, and we'll get back on here with the warm fire playing behind me. I feel the heat off of it. I like that though. It's calming this morning. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Yeah, Bon Scott had a lot of hippie ethics. Peter had a bandmate and a friend of Bon's from before his time at AC/DC. He had He'd read, he'd think about religion and philosophy. You could talk about serious things. Yeah, absolutely. And how many guys could play bagpipes? He had that look because his dad was, a lot of these people had their parents were musicians or played in bands or band leaders or something like that. He just, and he was a guy that was in trouble. I mean, he was one of those kids that got in trouble. Music was an outlet for him to get away from that, kind of get going. Uh, he's a mythical figure in a lot of ways. He wasn't a really big guy. None of the guys in AC/DC are, but he sang big. He had a huge stage presence. I mean, he's like, even with Angus, that's why it was so great. Angus all over the stage. You got the back rhythm section. Bond, like it was a tough guy. I mean, he had a little bit of a dance movie he would do, but it was a tough guy look, and he just commanded great presence on the stage. He didn't have to be singing. I love that. I will go back to it. I love that 1980s. What was that? Paris, France, that they recorded. And he died right after that. Well, right after that. They asked him about men, and he's like, men? Yeah, great. Hey, how you doing? Shake your hand. But women, he didn't like the question. It was funny, them playing in the snow and everything. Thank you, Daryl. Well, if nothing else, we get to reminisce about a lot of things. And, I like the discussion because we all have different influences. And this is part of my youth, I love Jesus, but, I love music, man. I always have. My mom gave me a great love for music, and my mom raised me on Motown, from country to Motown to pop. My mom wasn't into it, but she was a big Elvis fan, so that was the rock element. And I know for our time, you might say that's not really rock, but it is rock. So my mom was a big Elvis. We watched Bandstand and Soul Train back. My mom liked to dance. She was full of life. She loved music. I grew up loving all those groups in Motown, the OJs and Temptations and all. I love that stuff, and I still love Motown. And but I got the pop, and she gave me a love for music. She bought me country music like Merle Haggard. I can't believe my mom did that, but she loved Loretta Lynn, and my dad was kind of into country. And man, my youth was filled with music, filled with music. My mom liked to sing, and we used to just hang out a lot, and I had a great childhood. I had a family that loved me, and I think the coolest thing would have been if I could ever went to a concert with my mom. Yeah, Watchmen, that one. Yeah, it's a great movie / concert movie, whatever you want to call it. But I had a great childhood. Like you said, Daryl's talking about going to record stores. We had great record stores in the area, and I used to just love and go and flip through the albums like every other young kid did that. You go and for $8 to $10, find stuff on special and get something for $2 or $3 just because you like the album cover. You mow somebody's grass, and if you mowed somebody's yard, you had money to go to the record store, and it was just a lot of fun. I miss that. I miss just going by a record store and just shopping, whether I bought anything or not. I mean, some of my favorite things is memories of going to Turtles Records. The record store was out in Fort O. There was a couple. There's one out in Brainerd I would go to. And then when I went to Atlanta, I went to Tower Records and a couple other collectible places. And I would just go through and I would just flip through the stacks, as they call it. And, and I'd be like, what's this? I still have a lot of those albums. I'm going to go through them, and I'm going to bring a couple of them in the studio, and I'll talk about. We're going to talk about the music show. Does that? I mean, we talk about bands and stuff. The soundstage show, and I've been a busy week, but that's why I like that show. It's basically this is that. It's talking about our history and love of music, and experiences of going to shows or buying the music, put it on the turnstile. I have album, 8-track, cassette tape, CD, digital. My life has crossed over all those boundaries, and your lives have too. So we rode through that. My first record I ever bought was a 45. The Spinners working. Oh man, yeah, absolutely. And by the way, yeah, I forgot 45s were huge, man. That was our digital download. Bought it at Sears in Athens at Beechwood. Awesome. Yeah, yeah. We had a great upbringing here. A little bit, not a whole lot. I'd say a little bit. Uh, but yeah, the Lakeview area, the little mom and pop stores that we would go in and buy. I mean, for us, we used to go buy comic books, bubble gum, and a Coke for $1. I think you could walk in with $1, and you could buy some candy in a bag, get a Coca Cola, and then buy a comic book or two. I had a great life. I've had a great life. I appreciate the life that I've had. God has been good to me. And even though the 70s were chaotic, absolutely chaotic, my family shielded me from all. I watched the news with my dad, national news a lot. I mean, I knew the Vietnam was going on. I knew the race riots. I knew the assassinations. I knew all that. But my life was spent outdoors. That's the only time I watch. That's the only time I watched TV was at night. I was always outdoors. Probably you guys were as well. And I played sports. I made up games. It was always to be outside, be doing outside. Our neighborhood was safe. Everybody knew everybody. We looked after everybody, and I had a great childhood. And I hate that children grow up nowadays and that's damaged and all that. I had a great childhood, and I have no complaints other than my mom and dad divorcing, which was an impact on me. It hurt. That was the only bad thing that happened for me, though. I had a great family, and we had a heck of a lot of fun. And my mom, my dad, both have influenced me, and certainly. But my grandfather was a big cut up. He was a Baptist pastor, and he loved to cut up. My dad always had a good sense of humor, and I like to think I do. I mean, I laugh on the show all the time because I like to laugh. I think it's healthy, and who wants to be mad all the time or serious? We got to have times we do that. But man, I just love. I've had a great life, and I think that's why now I can do the show. You grew up on Cross Street, yeah, right there, man, and it was a great area, and it still is. We've had some things move into the area now that like, nah, got to be a little more on guard, But we still around here, we look after our kiddos. All the neighbors who have kids, their grandkids, a lot of us, we're looking after each other because there are some elements that come through now, and it's unfortunate, but it's still a great area. It's kind of coming back online. And anyway, thank you, Daryl. Daryl has a great story too, and he has a great love of history. He has a great love of Jesus. He's preaching that gospel, and he talked about the dirt track. And I didn't do that as a young person, and I'm loving the dirt track. I'm going to my first one, man. I'm like a rookie, man. I've got to be indoctrinated in the dirt track. I just never was taken. I think I'm going to go up that I-75 one, and I think that's going to be the first one I go to because we don't have those around here anymore. So I'm going to do that. Me and Dean, we're going to ride out. He's been to them. I haven't. So I can't wait. We're going to get some video out of that. But let me depart. Thank you, guys. Bless you. We'll be back on at 8:30 with the Cornbread Man and Biscuit Boy. We'll see what we can get into this morning. And yeah, we'll go, man. We just need to take a carload up there and go to the dirt track, and that'd be cool. I want to see the racing, but I also want to get out and talk to some of these guys and meet their families. And hey, I'm a people person, man. I go down and bring the light of Jesus with me and go and just encourage these guys. It'd be encouraging to see more people in the stands. Sure, they're good old boys, man. Just the good old boys like Waylon sung about. We good old boys too. We all have some different things, maybe because we're all a little different, but we're just good old boys, man. We've had good life. And while I still got breath in my lungs, I'm not slowing down. I want to keep pushing out. I'm not going to sit on the porch and just waste away. I'm going to stay active. So I don't feel my age. Sometimes I do. I don't act my age. I'll say that. I don't act my age. My grandchildren just shake their head at me sometimes. They got to be thinking, my grandpa is crazy. I like to have fun. I like to get them out of that because nowadays kids are all depressed and stuff, and I like to. It's hard, the bullying that goes on. So I get them to open up, talk about stuff. They'll tell me stuff. That's a grandpa status. They'll tell you stuff they won't tell anybody else. You know, they'll tell me when they're mad at their dad. I come in one day, God, I got to go. I come in one day, my middle granddaughter, she was so mad. I said, well, what's wrong with you? She said, I'm mad at my dad. I said, well, that's fair. Okay. Why are you mad at him? I said, she told me. And I said, well, did you do that? I said, sometimes I get mad at him. Sometimes he's mad at me. But your dad's, he's wound a little taut. I know because I raised him. And I'm always teaching him to unwind a little bit because he does. He's wound taut. And I said, he lets things get to him, So I said, if you had done what you were told to do, probably you wouldn't have saw that. You wouldn't have heard that. Like he got angry at you. I said, just think about that. But I ain't saying you can't be mad. That's your right to be mad. But boy, it's a lot funner to be happy. So I had her smiling a little bit. I saw him later. I said, boy, Lyric's mad at you. He said, I know she is. It's fun to be a grandpa, though. It really is. We'll see y'all soon. If you're able to be on. If not, we'll see you next time we see you. Have a great Saturday. And y'all are a blessing. Thank you so much for all the without you, there's no need to have a podcast. So all those that are watching and just listen, thank you so much. We don't forget you either, and we appreciate on different platforms. If I missed anybody, I've got some screens covered up. I just enjoyed the conversation. Biscuit Boy will soon arrive, and we'll be back on. Take care.